When the cameras started rolling inside Studio 6A that night, no one could have predicted what was coming. Not the producers, not the audience, and certainly not Jimmy Kimmel himself. It began like any other late-night appearance: bright lights, forced smiles, the warm-up comedian urging the crowd to clap like they meant it. The set smelled faintly of coffee and panic, the usual scent of live television. Backstage, Sylvester Stallone adjusted his cufflinks. At 77, he still had the presence of a lion. Stoic, calm, and carved from a lifetime of grit, he was there to promote his latest directorial venture, a deeply personal drama that had nothing to do with boxing, explosions, or vendettas. This was his moment to speak as an artist, not just a Hollywood icon. As he waited behind the curtain, the applause cue lit up and the audience roared. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kimmel announced with his signature smirk, "please welcome the one and only Sylvester Stallone." Stallone stepped out with that familiar, crooked smile, the one that had graced posters, t-shirts, and bedroom walls for generations. The crowd cheered. Some even stood. He shook Jimmy's hand, nodded politely, and sat down, settling into the plush guest chair like a man who'd done this 1,000 times before. "Sly, great to have you here," Kimmel began, leaning forward, like a snake preparing to strike. His voice carried the same charm it always did, but there was an edge beneath it tonight, something sharpened and deliberate, something off. "I have to say," Kimmel continued, "watching your movies over the years has been quite the journey. Rocky, Rambo, Cobra, ... all those sequels. Tell me, do you ever get tired of playing the same character over and over again?" The air tightened. You could almost hear the tension ripple through the crowd. Stallone chuckled politely. "Guard well, Jimmy. I think each film brought something different. Rocky wasn't just about boxing. It was about heart, about surviving, about never giving up, even when life hits harder than any opponent." Kimmel gave a theatrical nod, but it was the kind that wasn't listening. Right. But come on, how many times can you reinvent the guy who talks funny and punches? Things, silence. The smirk remained. But Stallone's smile faded just a fraction, the kind of micro-expression you'd miss if you blinked. "I'm not sure I follow," Stallone replied, voice tight but measured. "My speech comes from complications during birth. It's not something I put on for characters." "Oh, come on, Sly." Kimmel leaned back with that cocky comfort he wore like a uniform. "We're all friends here. You can admit the tough guy mumbling thing is part of the act. I've seen old interviews from the 70s. You spoke pretty clear back then, became ... this version of yourself. And just like that, the atmosphere turned. From warm nostalgia to something jagged, razor sharp." Stallone leaned in slightly, voice low. "Jimmy ... this version of myself is just me. And if that's a problem, maybe we should talk about why you're taking this angle tonight." "Angle?" Kimmel laughed. "Too loud, too fast. No angle. Just asking what people are thinking. Hollywood's all about reinvention. But let's be honest, you've spent 40 years chasing the same lightning bolt, haven't you?" The audience, unsure of whether to laugh or wince, grew eerily quiet. You could feel the pulse of discomfort running through every seat. Straightened his spine, unblinking. "I came here to discuss my film, to talk about storytelling, about the craft, not to have my life's work turned into a punchline." Kimmel's grin twisted. "If you can't handle a few tough questions, maybe it's time to stick to action flicks, where the dialogue's a bit ... lighter." And that was it. The moment everyone realized this wasn't banter. This wasn't a roast. This was a man being backed into a corner under the glare of stage lights and millions of viewers. And Sylvester Stallone wasn't the kind of man to stay silent for long. He took a breath, looked Kimmel dead in the eyes. "I've worked hard, Jimmy, built stories from the ground up, brought characters to life that gave people hope. What exactly have you created besides a stage to tear others down?" Kimmel's band shifted nervously. His sidekick shrank into his seat. The laughter dried up like desert air. And Stallone, he wasn't done. The tension inside Studio 6A was no longer something you could feel. It was something you could see, like heat waves rising off pavement. Every eye in the building was trained on the two men locked in a silent standoff. The hardened icon of American cinema and the talk show host whose mask was starting to slip, Jimmy Kimmel tried to laugh it off again, But this time it landed with a thud. There was no audience giggle, no chuckle from the band, just the slow burn of disbelief. "Well," Kimmel said, trying to regain control, "I've created a show where action stars like yourself can come and pretend they're still relevant. Isn't that something?" That line hit the studio like a slap. Stallone stood slowly, not in anger, not in theatrics, but like a man who was finished with pleasantries. "I think we're done here, Jimmy." The audience gasped. Kimmel, still playing, to the crowd, tried to keep it light. "Oh, come on, Sly, don't be so sensitive. This is all in good fun. Can't the great Sylvester Stallone take a joke?" Stallone turned, just slightly, his voice soft but unshakable. "A joke is supposed to be funny. Jimmy, what you're doing, this isn't comedy. This is cruelty." You could hear the cameras humming. You could hear someone cough in the back. Even the security guards leaned forward. Kimmel's smile faltered for the first time, just a crack, but it was enough to shift the energy completely. "Cruelty," he repeated. "Sly, you're being dramatic. This is how late night works. We poke fun. We get laughs. Everyone goes home happy. Don't make this something it's not. Then explain to me what it is." Stallone stepped forward. That single move made the entire set feel smaller, tighter, like the walls themselves were. Listening, because from where I was sitting until a few minutes ago, it felt like you brought me here with one goal, to humiliate me. Kimmel's laughter was forced now, his timing off. "Come on, Sly, you're bulletproof. You've gone toe-to-toe with every villain in cinema. You really think a few jokes from a late-night host are going to break you?" "Bulletproof," Stallone echoed. "Apollo Creed was a character. Rambo was a character. Rocky, a dream built on faith and pain. They were stories, Jimmy, stories meant to inspire. They came from a place of respect. You don't know what that means, do you?" The audience was paralyzed. No phones out now, no cheers. Just a vacuum of awkwardness too heavy to ignore. Kimmel, ever the showman, tried to rally. "I just ask the questions other interviewers are too polite to ask. That's what sets me apart." Stallone didn't flinch. "No, Jimmy, that's what makes you dangerous. There's a difference between being honest and being disrespectful, and the fact you don't see that, says everything." There it was. The mask cracked. The air around Kimmel shifted. His fingers twitched, tapping the desk without rhythm. His smirk now looked more like a shield than a grin. "That's rich," he snapped, coming from someone who's made a career playing the same guy over and over again. Stallone laughed, cold, controlled. "You keep bringing that up. My speech, my sequels, my delivery, but you're not actually talking about me, are you? You're talking about you, about your own bitterness, your own resentment. You've been doing this show for how many years now? Tearing people down with a smile, But what have you built, Jimmy? What's your Rocky? What's your Rambo? What story have you told that made people believe in themselves?" Kimmel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Stallone's voice rose not in anger, but in truth. "You know what I see? I see a man so afraid of becoming irrelevant that he decided to torch the legacy of someone who actually made something of himself. You thought you could use me for a viral moment, but what you've done is show your audience who you really are." The producers were gesturing wildly off stage. The band stopped. Even the stage manager froze. Everything was off script. Kimmel leaned forward now, desperation creeping in. "Look, Sly, I was just trying to dig deeper. I didn't want another promo interview. I wanted something real." Stallone locked eyes with him. "Real. Then let's get real. Why do you do it?" Silence. Kimmel looked around, lost. Was it for laughs? Was it to feel powerful? Or was it because deep down you don't think you belong here, and mocking others makes you forget that? Kimmel finally muttered, "That's not fair." "Then explain it." He couldn't. Stallone stepped back, not breaking eye contact. "You invited me here under false pretenses. Said you admired my work. Said you wanted to talk about the craft, but all you wanted was a takedown. You could have just said that up front." Kimmel's face was pale now. No comeback. Just a shell of bravado cracking open in front of everyone. And Stallone? He stood in the middle of that stage, like a mountain, unshaken, unmoved. "You know what hurts most?" he said. "It's not that you tried to humiliate me. It's that you could have used this platform to uplift people. You could have made them laugh with someone, not at them. You chose cheap shots over compassion, and now you've got nothing left but silence. The studio audience wasn't clapping. They weren't cheering, they were watching, and they weren't liking what they saw. For the first time in his career, Jimmy Kimmel had nothing to say. Nothing witty, nothing sarcastic. Just an empty smile clinging to his face like a lifeline. And in front of him, Stallone, a man who had weathered the storms of Hollywood for half a century, stood unmoved, not as an actor, not as a guest, but as a mirror. Forcing Kimmel to look at a version of himself he didn't want to see, "You invited me here to talk about my journey," Stallone said calmly, "so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it means to survive in this business with your soul intact." The audience leaned in. Some whispered, some looked away, but no one laughed anymore. "You think my movies are repetitive?" Stallone continued. "That I've played the same role for decades. But let me tell you what I really played. A man climbing out of poverty. A man fighting to be heard when no one wanted to listen. A man who wrote Rocky by hand because no studio would take a chance on someone who looked like me, talked like me. And I refused to sell that script unless I could star in it, because I knew no one else could bring that truth to life." Stallone's voice didn't shake. It resonated. "I slept in a bus station before Rocky got made. I sold my dog to survive. That's the journey you wanted to make a joke out of tonight. That's what you thought would get a few laughs." Kimmel's lips moved, but no sound came out. "You don't have to like my films, Jimmy, but you don't get to mock what they meant to millions of people, what they meant to me." The silence was now so heavy, it pressed against the walls of the studio. "I didn't mean to, ... double quotes," Kimmel finally whispered. "But it was too late for whispers. Didn't mean to," Stallone echoed. "You planned this. Your producers planned this. Every cutaway, every jab, it was a setup. And you thought, I'd play along because that's what we're all supposed to do, right? Smile, nod, be good little guests. But I'm not here to play your villain, Jimmy. I'm here to remind people that dignity isn't a performance." Kimmel looked toward his crew, but no one came to his rescue. Not the producers, not the band, not the audience. The air felt like glass, fragile, about to shatter. Stallone stepped forward, just a foot, but it changed everything. He wasn't just talking to Jimmy now. He was talking to every person watching. "Look at your audience," he said. "These are people who come home from work and tune in because they want to feel something. Maybe laugh, maybe cry, maybe believe in something for just an hour before they go back to their lives. What did you give them tonight? A man tearing down another man who gave them hope." He turned to the crowd. "Tell me," he asked them gently, "is that why you showed up?" A woman in the front row shook her head. A man near the back lowered his phone. No one spoke, but their faces said everything. "This," Stallone said, gesturing around the studio, "this isn't a gladiator arena. We're not here to see who bleeds first. We're here to connect. And if you've forgotten that, Jimmy, then maybe you've forgotten why you got into this business in the first place." Kimmel rubbed his temple. His voice cracked. I just wanted something different. Something that would stand out." "You got it," Stallone said. "But now you have to live with what it cost." A producer stepped toward the stage, unsure whether to interrupt. Kimmel held up a hand. "No, let him speak." Stallone nodded. "You wanted a moment. Here it is. Make it count, own it, or walk away, like none of it ever happened." Kimmel swallowed hard. "You think I'm the bad guy? I think you're a guy who lost his way," Stallone said. "And you're not the only one. We all get tempted. We all want the click, the trend, the clip that makes people gasp. But real power, Jimmy, real legacy, comes from lifting others up, not dragging them down." The audience clapped. Not everyone, not loud, but enough to break the silence, enough to shift the energy. "I'm not here to cancel you," Stallone added. "I'm here to challenge you, to ask you what kind of man you want to be the next time someone sits in this chair." Kimmel was quiet. Then, for the first time that night, his voice dropped the sarcasm. "I don't know," he said. "I really don't." Stallone softened. "That's honest. That's a start. Another beat, another silence. But this one didn't hurt. It healed." The lights burned hot under Stallone's gaze, and Kimmel looked like a man shrinking under his own spotlight. "You just wanted to tear someone down," Stallone said, voice calm but weighted, "because you thought it would get you applause. That's not comedy, Jimmy. That's cowardice. Kimmel opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Just the faintest twitch of his lips, like his body wanted to fight back, but his spirit had nothing left to swing with. Stallone kept going, not cruelly, but like a father who's been pushed too far. You had a chance to do something meaningful. Tonight, instead, you tried to drag me into the mud. But I don't live in the mud. I crawled out of it a long time ago, and I'm not going back. The audience sat frozen. Not even the sound of shifting in seats, just silence. You know what the difference is between me and you, Jimmy? Stallone asked. Kimmel blinked, startled. I've spent my life fighting. To lift people up, every character I wrote, every film I made, was for the underdog. The forgotten guy, the broken soul, still fighting for a shot. Stallone took a step closer. You mock those people every night. Now the tension was unbearable. Even the band had stopped pretending this was just a weird skit. Kimmel finally spoke, low and shaky. You think you're the only one who's struggled, Sly? You think just because you threw punches on screen that you're some kind of moral authority? Stallone didn't flinch. No, Jimmy, I don't think I'm a moral authority. I think I'm a man who knows when to stop laughing and start listening. There it was, that final crack. Kimmel's mask slipped just enough. His voice trembled. Then listen to this. I was tired, all right. Tired of actors walking in here expecting worship. Tired of people acting like this chair, he tapped his desk, is a throne they're entitled to. Stallone's voice dropped. Lo, that chair is a privilege. Just like that mic, just like every face watching you, and you've used all of it to cut people down because somewhere along the way you forgot what this job is. Kimmel stared at him, unmoving. You forgot, Stallone said, stepping back now, that being clever doesn't make you wise, and being funny doesn't make you kind. Kimmel leaned back, arms crossed, his face caught between fury and regret. So what now? He asked bitterly. You walk off and the internet turns you into some martyr. You want your viral moment. Sly, take it. Stallone shook his head. I didn't walk on here for a moment, Jimmy. I walked on to talk about a film I care about. You turned it into a firing squad. And now you're mad because I didn't sit still and take the bullet. Kimmel looked like a balloon, slowly deflating. Fine, he whispered. You win. Stallone's voice softened, but the authority remained. It was never about winning. It was about dignity, something you lost somewhere between the monologue and your last punchline. He turned toward the audience, looked at them, really looked. This isn't entertainment. This is what happens when a man forgets how to treat people. Then, to Kimmel, one final blow. I hope one day you remember who you were before the cameras, before the applause, before the need to be cruel became stronger than the need to be real. Stallone turned, walked off the stage. No dramatic exit. Music. No fake thanks for coming, just footsteps, heavy, deliberate, final. Kimmel sat motionless. The camera was still rolling, but no one was laughing. The credits didn't roll because no one was sure. If the show was ever going to be the same again, what do you think? Could you have handled that situation with the same grace and dignity that Stallone showed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories that Hollywood doesn't want you to.